Austin, I see a trend happening. And let's say a decade ago, the trend around the NBA was the big three, started with the 08 Celtics, the Miami Heat, yada, yada, yada. I'm looking at both game sevens yesterday, teams that could go to their bench like a TJ McConnell and teams that can go to their bench like Naz Reid and not lose a step when an all-star goes out. And you have these guys coming in versus a Nuggets team or obviously a depleted Knicks team. But when you're able to go to your bench, these deeper teams, I'm starting to see like that's what's more important, right? Versus the Suns bringing in a big three and not having that depth. If I was building a team right now, I'd be so much more focused on having that depth because the starters, they do get gas like we saw with the Nuggets. I want to talk about when the game got tight and the Timberwolves came back last night, you told me they were going away from that two-man game that's been so effective for them. And Jokic kind of got the ball and it stuck in people's hands a little. Even when Jamal got the ball, it stuck in his hands a little more. The ball wasn't popping the way it usually does.
No.
But how did you know that was happening? Because you called that before it started.
Yeah, you could see the game changing. So what happens is, and it's not I don't like putting blame on Nikola because they're only even in that situation because of him. They're only even a relevant team, championship team, blah, 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 because of Nikola. We know that. Nothing but respect to the big man, MVP, three-time MVP. Arguably, he's probably going to go down as the greatest center of all time. I mean, the three MVPs puts him in that conversation. He's going to arguably go down. I said arguably. You could say Shaq, you could say Wilt, you could say Bill, you'll be able to say Nikola.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
He's got to win more titles.
Yeah.
He's got to win more titles.
We'll stick with this.
But the MVPs put him at least in a sense.
He's up there. We're talking about. He's in an Olajuwon.
I'm not saying he is the greatest. You could say Shaq, Olajuwon, Bill, Kareem. What I get all that. They're all there. I'm not saying he is the guy. I'm saying three MVPs puts you in a conversation amongst those guys because a lot of those guys don't have three MVPs.
I'm putting him in near an Olajuwon situation.
Yeah. So, nonetheless, whatever. Okay, we have tons of respect for Nikola here. They went on that run in the third quarter. All right, Minnesota did. And Nikola was getting doubled, making the right play every single time. There was nothing there. They couldn't throw a rock in the ocean. And it creeped him even in the fourth quarter. I mean, you could hear the announcers, Reggie Miller, all these guys saying, Jamal Crawford, they're saying, they got to pounce now. Minnesota's got to take care of these opportunities. They can't buy a basket. Denver can't buy a basket. It wasn't Nikola, really. Nikola was doing his thing, double team. Right guy, pass, swing, open shot, miss. This went on for minute after minute after minute after minute. I just know from being there, I know how it goes. Once you see, and again, we just alluded to it a minute ago, my MPJ didn't have a lot. Aaron Gordon didn't have anything really left in the tank last night. KCP was a non-factor all series long. I don't even know. Anyways. So you have these guys who weren't able to be effective. Nikola sees that. And it's not just like 2-3 plays in a row. We're talking like a 6-7 minute span where like guys just aren't making anything. And you could see it. Like they looked in trouble, the energy. Nikola flipped that switch and said, okay, I'm going to go do it myself. And once you do that, he's very capable because he's that good. But now everything has to go right because you're not getting those points from everybody. And it's tough because on the other side, every motherfucker's scoring. Naz Reid's scoring.
Jaden
McDaniels is scoring. Karl Towns hits a three or a tip slam. Ant gets to the foul line. Rudy hits a turnaround. It's coming. Mike Conley hits a big three. They're just hitting you in waves because they have so much. They have talent. And they got players off the bench to go back to your original point. The trend in the NBA is changing. Nikola, I saw that he made the right play 50 times in a row, and they just weren't getting rewarded for it. So when the game's starting to spiral out of control, and the lead goes from being up 20 to being up 10 to being up 5 to being tied to being down 5 to being down 7 to being down 10, at what point is he like, man, fuck this. I'm just going to do it myself.
Right.
So you start seeing him back down, and instead of him head on a swivel, looking for the open man, I'm seeing him do that thing where he's barreling into him. That's when I know Nikola's going to score.
Right. He was getting to the line. He was being aggressive.
And he was doing his thing.
But it just takes away from Jamal so much better when he's playing the two-man game with Jokic. So then you got Jamal kind of playing one-on-one
now
too.
Jamal's hitting like tough fadeaway. Now Michael's not getting open shots. KCP's a non-factor. Aaron Gordon was a non-factor. Like how many lobs did we get last night from AG? How many cuts did we get in the last couple of minutes where Dunker passed? He gets an and one. Like none of those were happening.
Right.
we're getting the one-on-one Nikola and the one-on-one Jamal. The ball got sticky. That's not their bread and butter.
Their last couple minutes of execution that we're so used to seeing.
That was not there.
They put away the Lakers every single time.
It was due to two things: fatigue and panic, because they were up by 20. They're in a game 7. Now they're down 7-8. There's 3-4 minutes left. They're like, shit, we're about to lose. These dudes ain't helping. Hey, Nikola, we got to just, hey, brother, me and you start getting that. That's what we've historically seen with Boston. Tatum and Brown do that thing. They're like, man, we got to do this. No, you don't. You have to lead the way. You got to make the play, but it's got to be the right play. Nikola is the best player in the world at making the right play. So as soon as I see that guy start to be more of a scorer, I know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Now this don't look good, because even though
that's not how we got here.
That's not how you got here.
Dance with the girl that brought you. That is not.
And he was scoring. But this dude hit like 3 threes. I was like, everyone's like, man, he's not, and he's so good. So I get it, but it's just like, that's not who Denver is.
Yeah.
So that led me to be like, they're in trouble here. And then that's when we knew they were going to lose the game. They ended up losing. Listen, the league has changed, to go back on your point, Pausha. We had an era of like people super team building, star after star after star. That is not the case anymore. You have the best teams in the league winning with 1 star, 2 stars max. Everybody else being just really elite role players, deep benches. We talk about Boston. We talk about how good of a team they are in their depth. We talk about Indianapolis or the Pacers right now, who's just blowing up on the scene, who neither of us have had a lot of confidence in their team. But through these playoffs, me and you have definitely had our eyes open due to their depth. TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, all these guys who have really, Naismith, who's even the Nembhard, like that guy, like they have good players.
But without Nembhard's game winner, and we don't have to get to that series quite yet, but without his game winner in game 3,
they're not there. Yeah,
series is over.
They have guys who just stepped up.
Yeah,
right off the bench. Minnesota had waves of guys in different series. Nikhil was really good versus Phoenix. This series, he's been a little bit more quiet. Still a defensive pest, but for what they lack, this guy steps up. Kyle Anderson didn't play at all versus Phoenix. In this game, he's like poking, getting steals. And Nikola, everyone has their time and moment because they have depth, that they have guys that they could reach to and go to.
Yeah.
Denver looked at that damn bench and was like, who do we throw in here?
Right.
No, they don't have anyone. And I don't like to say they don't have anyone, because they have guys on their team that can play basketball, man. I'm not disrespecting guys, but they weren't used. So that tells you where Coach Malone thinks of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson, these guys weren't a factor in this series. Not saying that Reggie Jackson can't play because he's a hooper, but for whatever reason, they didn't really go to him, and he wasn't getting minutes. And they didn't get anything from Christian Braun because he can't score on offense, but he is a guy who can hustle hard on defense. But in the playoffs, you need more than that. You know, they didn't really trust Peyton. DJ's old, but they got nobody. The only bench player that they turned to was Holiday. That was the only guy that got like kind of consistent minutes for the most part with Braun as well.
Yeah.
In this second round. So this is the difference. You got Braun and Justin Holiday getting played, sparingly, versus Naz Reid, Nikhil Alexander, Kyle Anderson. Like, bro, they got guys they're like really playing, who are having like big games, impact, 6th man of the year. They got like real hoopers over there. It just isn't close. So it's like Coach Malone after games like, yo, my guy's tired. It's like, you damn right they tired. You played the starters 40 minutes, 45 every game this series because you ain't got nobody.
Yeah.
And you've had to do that all playoffs. You can't go to the bench and get production. The league has changed. It's no more top-heavy teams. Those teams don't do well anymore. You need depth. You need role players are going to be the most valuable you've ever been, especially with this new TV money. Man, paying guys $60, $70, $80 million who can come in and average 10 points a game, 9 points a game, and in the playoffs hit big shots. That could be the difference between you going to the conference finals, like you just said, the Pacers, whether it's Nembhard making that 3, or Denver, who's top-heavy, or Phoenix, top-heavy. These teams are not playing. Why is Dallas good now? Well, I don't know. Is it Luka, Kyrie? For sure. That's the main reason. But it's because they added P.J. Washington. It's because they added Gafford. It's because they have Josh Green in there working hard, playing hard. They have all these
Derek Jones,
who's been humongous for Dallas. They have all these role players stepping up. You need depth. It can't just be 2-3 guys in a Western shootout anymore, man. Like, you can't just put 2-3 guys in there and tell them to go fucking win us a series. Phoenix had all this top-heavy players, and like they had no depth, no bench for sure, and like they couldn't do anything. Like, you need depth, and we've seen it change to where that First off, if you think Denver is running it back with that roster, you got another thing coming. They're going to be making some major changes. I know how Malone is. I know how that team is. Like, the fact that they know that they're the best team in the league, because they were. Their starting lineup, Denver's supposed to be in the conference finals. I hate saying that because Minnesota went and won that. But Denver did a poor job this past summer acquiring assets. And I don't want to say they felt themselves, but they won that title with that guy, Nikola, in that lineup. They're like, man, let's just grab some people on the bench. We'll make it work. We got some young guys. We're going to win again. And it really hurt them. The Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, not retaining those guys really hurt them. And again, you can't blame them for the Bruce Brown thing because they weren't going to pay him that. I don't think anybody was, but Indianapolis. But, you know, Jeff Green and amongst even grabbing other players on the market. Like, we talked about this too, Pausha, and I would love to hear what you would have to say about this. There has to be a difference between going young and trying to win. And some of these vets that have been pushed out. Yeah. Some of these vets that went through the cracks, slipped through the cracks. Like, bro, you know, it's a big deal to acquire assets. Dante DiVincenzo was a guy that was not high on the market this past summer. When he came from Golden State, anybody could have paid him. Nuggets could have got him for cheap. He obviously signed that new deal during the season when he was killing. But prior to that, he's paying like vet minimum. Or just a little bit over that, whatever it was. This was a guy who's on the verge of being pushed out the league. He goes to New York and this guy's one of the best shooters in the league right
39
now.
yesterday.
Yeah, 39 yesterday. He's going to get a $70, $80 million. Oh, he already signed. But he would have got like an $80, $90 million contract.
Yeah, Grayson Allen just got one.
Yeah, he's better than Grayson. In my opinion, he's more athletic. He's more capable than Grayson. He's a better version of Grayson. Shooting, you can both wash them. They're both great shooters. Then you add, they're both athletes too. Dante uses it a little bit more, in my opinion, even though Grayson is a freak athlete. Regardless of which, the point is, some of these teams got such in a rush finding all this young talent tomorrow. Bro, that shit is not promised, and most of those guys don't pan out, man.
Well, you know what? To your point, and I wanted to bring this up multiple times yesterday, you looked at me and you said, Mike Conley is so big for the Timberwolves. And that is someone, if you're the Timberwolves and you're looking at Ant and Jaden McDaniels, you're like, man, we should find someone that fits our timeline. They went and got Mike Conley instead, which wouldn't traditionally fit their timeline, obviously. He has been in the NBA for 30 years.
You have to have a fine line.
Yeah.
Between trying to be young and too smart for your own good. Everybody's always trying to look for the next project of the new, young, talented guy that no one saw. Like, bro, that shit 80% of the time don't pan out, bro.
Right.
You got a lot of these kids from this new era of basketball, AAU basketball being played, the way this grassroots, NIL, these kids already make them. These dudes coming in the league can't play a lick of ball, bro. They're just like talented. I don't know if you, bro, I'm watching these draft workouts the other day. You could just tell off the eye test alone. These guys are there off talent. Like, I don't know how high their IQ is. I don't know what their basketball knowledge is.
Takes you back to that Popovich quote where he's saying, I'm teaching guys more of the fundamentals of basketball
now,
more than ever.
It's not the same as when I used to coach grown men and like these guys could play the game already. Now we have higher talent, but low IQ and like the fundamentals aren't there.
Yeah.
So now you got a Denver bench who is very young and they're like looking at it and they're like, meanwhile, like you got Michael Conley running around on the other team. Like, bro, like it just matters. You could have got a DiVincenzo. You could have got, bro, I could name a whole bunch of dudes, man, who are on teams this year that are having impacts. And people are like, yo, that's a good player. And he's like 29 years old, 28 years old, which would be young in any era of basketball except now. In today's game, 30 years old is considered a dinosaur. Back then, 30 years old was a young...
in your prime
player.
Sure.
So nothing's changed except perspective. If 30 is prime then, it's prime now, especially with the science and shit that we have now. Guys are not even aging. Mike Conley's still whipping around. He's like 36 years old. 30 years old is well in their prime, but we've been trained with all this young talent to come in the league that we got to grab young. Yeah. Where that leads you to bad season after bad season after loss after loss. Go look at all the young teams and see their fucking record. It's horrific, bro.
Right.
It's bad. You got like 2-3 teams sneaking through the cracks and everybody's like, well, they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's one team, bro.
And a team like Oklahoma City, who they were able to do it, but everyone wanted them to make a move at the deadline and bring in a big to help Chet and everything like that. They didn't do it. And then Daniel Gafford and Lively just kind of dominate their front line. And that's so disrespect to Chet, who had an unbelievable year.
No, Chet's a stud. But the point is
they could have used some help. And everyone's been saying, I'm not making that up, obviously.
If they would have acquired like an Andre Drummond or something like that, who knows what would have happened? They probably would have won that series. No bullshit. So it's just like, bro, we got to start doing better. Just from
on Bill Simmons' pod, he said, "What if the Thunder got Daniel Gafford instead of the Mavs?"
Yeah, it's just
they
like
probably win that series.
We have to do a better job, I think, as a league, to not only continue to embrace young talent, but we still have to hold value and put a premium on like veteran players who can play the game.